Welcome to Read Alouds with Mrs. Na. I'm really excited to read this book to you because I used to read this book to my students every year on the first day of class. First day jitters. Do you guys know what jitters means? Yeah, jitters is when you're feeling a little bit nervous and anxious and excited all at once. It can feel a little bit stressful when you have jitters. When is a day or a time that you have felt the jitters before? Maybe for some of you, it's on your first day of school. Maybe for you, it's on a competition day, like a piano competition or performance, or a big soccer game or baseball game, or maybe a dance recital. Those are moments when your tummy feels strange and your hands feel clammy and wet and you're feeling excited but also really nervous at the same time. That's called the first day jitters. Here we go. It's by Julie Dannenberg and illustrated by Judy Love. As I'm looking at this picture, I see that an alarm clock must have gone off because a cat is leaping off of the nightstand. Glasses are being dropped. What else are being dropped? Yeah, I see water. I see a lamp that might fall off. A book. And the dog is also barking. And if you look really closely at the picture, as all good readers should, what month is it? It's September, and the picture's a school bus. So I'm thinking the first day jitters must mean the first day of school. That's right, students. All right, here we go. It's to Jack and Buddy. And then it says, for Matthew, who never gets first day jitters, but willingly posed for me anyway, with love. I'm assuming that's the cat, Matthew. Sarah, dear, time to get out of bed, Mr. Hartwell said, poking his head through the bedroom doorway. You don't want to miss the first day at your new school, do you? Okay, so we were right. It's the first day of school. It looks like Mr. Hartwell is waking up Sarah. I wonder how old Sarah is. I'm not going, said Sarah, and pulled the covers over her head. Of course you're going, honey, said Mr. Hartwell as he walked over to the window and snapped up the shade. Kind of sounds like what I do to my children. No, I'm not. I don't want to start over again. I hate my new school, Sarah said, and she tunneled down to the end of her bed. When you're looking at the picture, how do you think Mr. Hartwell feels? His hand is overhead and he looks like he's pretty frustrated. Like, come on, let's go. And how do you think Sarah must feel? Sarah does not feel excited to go to school. I know this because she has a cover over her head and also her hand is over her head, so she also seems frustrated. And she's hiding her face and her body. Has anyone done that before? How can you hate your new school, sweetheart? Mr. Hartwell chuckled. Chuckled is like, giggled a little bit. You've never been there before. And don't worry, you'll like your other school. You'll like this one. Besides, just think of all the new friends you'll meet. That's just it. I don't know anybody and it will be hard and I just hate it. That's all. Okay, let's compare and contrast these two pictures. That's a skill that we need as good readers. So when I compare these two pictures, I'm looking for what are the things that are similar or the same. And when I contrast, I want to see what's different about these pictures. Okay, so let's first do the first skill, compare. What are things that are similar about these two pictures? Yeah, they're the same people, same setting, meaning it takes it the same place. It's in a classroom. Now let's contrast what's different about these photos or pictures. They're doing two different types of things. The first picture, how do they look? Yeah, they look like they're really ready to learn, eager students. And how about that second picture? Let's contrast. Yeah, they do not look like they're excited to learn. They're pulling each other's hairs. Maybe looks like they're passing notes and making funny, silly faces, chewing gum. Oof, I would not like being in a classroom like this. What will everyone think if you weren't there? We told them you were coming. I wonder if police really would look for them. They will think that I am lucky and they will wish that they were at home in bed like me. Mr. Hartwell sighed. Sarah Jane Hartwell, I'm not playing this silly game 1 second longer. I'll see you downstairs in 5 minutes. Now, I read it in a very stern voice because I imagine that that's how Mr. Hartwell must feel. She fumbled into her clothes. Sarah tumbled out of bed. She stumbled into the bathroom. She fumbled into her clothes. What are the 3 rhyming words I just said? Tumbled, stumbled, and fumbled. Those 3 words tell me that she is still not excited to be at school. I can also learn a character trait, like what kind of person Sarah is, as a good reader by looking at her room. And I can tell that Sarah here is not very neat. She looks really messy. Raise your hand if you are a messy person, like you have a messy room, like Sarah. And raise your hand if you like your room very neat and clean and tidy. Tidy is another word that means clean. Me too. I like a tidy room. My head hurts, she moaned as she trudged into the kitchen. Mr. Hartwell handed Sarah a piece of toast and her lunchbox. Okay, readers, let's dive and try to be detectives, word detectives. What do you think trudged might mean? By knowing what's going on in the situation and by knowing what kind of behavior that Sarah was showing earlier. My head hurts, she moaned as she trudged into the kitchen. Do you think trudged means A, excitedly walked in? Or do you think trudged means B, dragged her feet and just kind of walked in begrudgingly, like not wanting to? You're right if you thought B. And I know that by the context clues, knowing what we've read so far about Sarah, and knowing how she had moaned earlier, and the words that she was saying, my head hurts. They walked to the car. Sarah's hands were cold and clammy. They drove down the street. She couldn't breathe. Oh, she must be feeling so nervous. And then they were there. I feel sick, said Sarah weakly. Nonsense, said Mr. Hartwell. You'll love your new school once you get started. Oh, look, there's your principal, Mrs. Burton. Sarah slumped down in her seat. Can you all slump down for me right now in your couches, your chairs, in your cars, wherever you may be? Yeah, that's like body language that, I don't want to go. Oh, Sarah, Mrs. Burton gushed, peeking into the car. There you are. Come on. I'll show you where to go. Mrs. Burton must be really excited to have Sarah. She led Sarah into the building and walked quickly through the crowded hallways. Don't worry. Everyone is nervous the first day, she said over her shoulder as Sarah rushed to keep up. I wonder where Sarah is in this picture. I think she must be behind all of them because if you look closely at the picture, a lot of them are poking their heads back like they're looking at someone. When they got to the classroom, most of the children were already in their seats. The class looked up as Mrs. Burton cleared her throat. Class, attention please, said Mrs. Burton. And the class was quiet. She led Sarah to the front of the room and said, Class, I would like you to meet hey, this picture looks familiar. It's like how Sarah had imagined. And all of these students look very eager. Like, who are they going to meet? Like, you're eager for me to read the next page, I'm sure. Your new teacher, Mrs. Sarah Jane Hartwell. Hey! Were you predicting it was a student? Because this is another reason I love this book and why I would read it on my first day of school. I told my students, it's okay if you're feeling really nervous to come into my classroom this year, because I, your teacher, also feel the jitters. We all feel jitters on the first day of school, and that's completely normal. And you know what? When you feel jitters, whether it's at your performance or a game, it's all a-okay. We all feel that way, even the adults. Thank you, readers, for reading this book. I cannot wait to see you again at Read Alouds with Mrs. Na. See you soon.